Shenzhen, a city that never sleeps. Neon lights pulse against the wet asphalt as thousands of scooters weave through traffic like electric veins. Somewhere in that storm of motion, a man in a yellow delivery jacket waits at a red light, his helmet fogged, his phone vibrating with another order. His name is Li Wei. He used to build software that powered businesses like this, sitting behind glass walls, sipping office coffee, solving problems that didn't belong to him. But that was before the layoffs, before the silence, before the world stopped needing him. Now he rides through the city he once overlooked, from luxury towers to dim alleys, delivering food he can barely afford to order for himself. Every ping on his phone feels like a reminder he's fallen. And yet, something inside him hasn't broken. Not completely, because somewhere between deliveries, in the quiet moments when he parks beside a vending machine and opens his laptop under the flickering light, Li Wei is still coding, still building, still dreaming. He doesn't know it yet, but the same job that once felt like humiliation will become the seed of something far bigger, something that will rewrite not just his life, but the system that cast him out. This isn't a story about success. It's a story about the noise we lose ourselves in and the silence we find ourselves in after. It's about the man everyone laughed at until they realized he'd been building the future all along. Everyone laughed when I started delivering food until they saw what I built. March rain, thin, cold, and endless. Outside the glass walls of the Shenzhen office tower, the city was a blur of umbrellas and headlights. Inside, only the hum of air conditioning and the low tap of keyboards remained. Li Wei sat at his desk, staring at the subject line of an email that had just appeared. Notice of organizational restructuring. He didn't open it right away, as if waiting could stop time from moving. But the longer he stared, the heavier the silence became. When he finally clicked, the words were short, polite, corporate. 10 years of work condensed into 3 sentences and a signature block. He scrolled to the bottom, hoping for a line, a mistake, an exception, a reason. But there was nothing, just the empty white space where his name used to belong. Around him, chairs rolled back. Someone laughed softly in disbelief. A manager whispered something about budget alignment. The office printer kept whirring, spitting out forms that no longer mattered. Li Wei closed his laptop. The screen went black, and for the first time in years, he saw his own reflection instead of code. His face looked older than he remembered, tired, unfamiliar. By the time he stepped outside, the rain had turned heavier, soaking through his thin jacket as he walked to the subway. People hurried past with umbrellas, faces buried in their phones. No one noticed him. At home, his apartment felt smaller. The hum of the refrigerator was the only sound. On the table, a half-finished cup of coffee had gone cold hours ago. He sat down, staring at the walls, his inbox still open on the glowing screen. 1 email, 20 words, and the end of everything he thought he was. He wanted to scream, but only a quiet laugh escaped, the kind that breaks halfway between disbelief and despair. He whispered almost to himself, "Maybe this is what starting over sounds like." The next morning, sunlight leaked weakly through the curtains, pale and uncertain, like he felt. Li Wei had spent the night refreshing job sites, scrolling through listings that all seemed to ask for someone younger, faster, cheaper. Each rejection felt like an echo from the same void. "We've decided to move forward with other candidates." By noon, his savings app blinked a warning he could no longer ignore. Rent was due in 2 weeks. He opened a new tab and searched something he'd never imagined typing: how to become a food delivery rider. The sign-up took 15 minutes. A background check, a profile photo, a uniform deposit. The confirmation email arrived almost instantly, faster than any job reply he'd received in months. 2 days later, he stood in a logistics center near Huaqiang Bay, surrounded by rows of scooters and young men laughing about delivery quotas. A woman in a blue vest handed him his new uniform, a bright yellow jacket that seemed to glow too loudly, like a warning sign. When he put it on, something inside him cracked. He wasn't a developer anymore. He was a courier, one among thousands, faceless and replaceable. The city didn't care. Shenzhen's streets pulsed with constant motion car horns, crosswalk beeps, the mechanical buzz of scooters flooding every corner. His first order came before he even adjusted his helmet strap. Pickup, Noodle King, Delivery Tower 19. Simple, direct, soulless. He weaved through the traffic, feeling every stare, every gust of wind biting through the seams of his jacket. In the glass reflections of buildings, he caught flashes of himself, a yellow blur carrying someone else's lunch, riding past the office towers where he once belonged. At a red light, a familiar voice called out from the sidewalk, "Li Wei, is that you?" He turned. It was Chen, his old teammate, still in a pressed shirt, still carrying a laptop bag. The man blinked in disbelief, trying to smile, failing. "Oh, hey," Chen said awkwardly. "Didn't know you were doing this." Li Wei forced a nod. "Just temporary." Chen hesitated, then muttered something about catching a meeting and walked off, eyes down. The light turned green, but Li Wei didn't move. He stared at the reflection in his scooter mirror, a man in yellow, helmet smudged, rain starting again. He whispered quietly, "Just temporary." But even he didn't believe it. That night, back in his apartment, he lined up his delivery phone, charger, and keys on the table, a ritual of survival. Outside, scooters buzzed through the rain, like restless insects chasing light. Li Wei lay awake, the glow of his laptop still faint in the corner. His mind wouldn't stop humming with code fragments of logic, bits of old systems, ghosts of unfinished ideas. And somewhere between exhaustion and defiance, a single thought surfaced. If I can build apps for them, maybe I can build one for myself. Night fell differently in the city when you were on the streets. Li Wei had begun to notice that how neon lights painted the puddles in pink and blue, how the sound of rain mixed with the constant buzzing of engines and delivery notifications. Each order took him through a different version of Shenzhen. Glass towers glowing like data centers, narrow alleys steaming with night market smoke, families laughing in small apartments he'd never step inside. He moved through them like a ghost, invisible, efficient, forgettable. But every night, after the last delivery, he went home, peeled off the yellow jacket, plugged in his dying phone, and opened his laptop. The same screen he used to dread was now his only friend. At first, it was just habit fingers tapping familiar lines of code. Not for money, not for work, just to remember he could still build something. He created a simple tracker for his daily routes. Then he added a timer to predict peak hours, then a map to estimate delivery clusters. One night, while eating instant noodles over his keyboard, a thought hit him hard. The system was broken. Every day, he saw at firsthand riders getting lost, orders misassigned, bonuses cut because of app errors. The algorithms that once made him proud now felt cruel and blind. He muttered to himself, "They're optimizing for profits, not for people." So he began to design something else, a lightweight routing tool that predicted orders by location and weather. Nothing fancy, just smarter, fairer. He coded between deliveries and stairwells, under overpasses, in convenience stores at 2 a.m. The smell of coffee and rain mixed with the blue glow of his screen. Sometimes other riders would glance over his shoulder, curious. "What are you doing, man?" one asked. Li Wei smiled faintly. "Trying to make my job obsolete." They laughed, but Li Wei didn't. He wasn't joking. Weeks passed. The prototype grew messy, imperfect, alive. His yellow jacket became a second skin, his phone a data source. Every shift gave him new insight, every failure a new bug to fix. He began to see beauty in the rhythm ride, code, sleep, repeat. The city's noise became his heartbeat. Then one night, his laptop froze. Lines of code blurred together, his screen stuttered, and his entire project crashed. He stared at it, months of work, gone in seconds. His chest tightened, hands trembled, but then, without thinking, he whispered to himself, "No one's coming to fix this for me." He started over, from scratch. And as the rain tapped softly on the window, he realized something he hadn't felt in years: purpose. Weeks bled into months. Shenzhen's summer heat replaced the spring rain, and the city's air grew thick with humidity, exhaust, and the faint smell of fried noodles that followed Li Wei everywhere. He had stopped checking job boards, stopped counting the days since he'd last worn a button-down shirt. Every morning, he zipped up his yellow jacket, started the scooter, and slipped into the flow of the city. Each delivery felt mechanical, but his mind was elsewhere, replaying bits of logic, testing equations, rewriting algorithms in his head between red lights. By day, he was one of thousands of riders. By night, he was building something invisible, something that was starting to make sense. The prototype lived quietly in his laptop, a small, efficient routing system that analyzed real behavior, not the flawed models the big delivery apps used. Instead of optimizing for profits, it optimized for people fair assignments, shorter idle times, better paid distribution. He called it Loop because everything came back around. At first, it was just a tool for himself. He ran it on his own routes, testing it silently. One afternoon, he realized he had completed 20% more deliveries with less fuel and almost no delays. That night, sitting by the window, sweat still on his neck, Li Wei laughed quietly, not out of pride, but disbelief. He whispered, "It works. It actually works." He didn't celebrate. He just stared at the city lights, their reflections trembling across his coffee mug. He thought about all the engineers in high-rise offices working on systems they didn't use. And here he was, one man riding through their mistakes and rewriting them line by line. He started sharing Loop with a few other writers, those who trusted him. They were skeptical at first, but when their income rose and their hours dropped, word spread fast. By the end of the month, dozens of writers across different districts were using his system through a shared link. One night, while reviewing usage logs, Li Wei froze. A new IP address appeared, not a writer, but a corporate network. Someone big had noticed. He felt his chest tighten again. Fear, excitement, disbelief all colliding in one heartbeat. He closed the laptop, sat back, and let the city's night hum fill the silence. Rain had started again, the same kind of rain as the day he was fired. Only this time, it didn't sound cold. It sounded like applause. The message came on a Tuesday afternoon, halfway through his shift. A simple email, subject line, inquiry, collaboration proposal. At first, Li Wei thought it was spam, but then he saw the sender, Vice President, Kenitra Delivery Group, one of the companies that had laid off hundreds of engineers last year, his company. For a long moment, he just stared at the screen, engine idling beneath him. The vibration of the scooter mixed with the vibration inside his chest. He parked under a bridge, rain misting off the edge above him, and read the message again. They'd seen Loop. They wanted to discuss potential integration. They were impressed by the algorithm's predictive accuracy. They wanted a meeting. For a second, the world tilted. His throat went dry. His hands shook so hard he almost dropped the phone. That night, he couldn't sleep. He sat on the edge of his bed, the yellow jacket hanging from the chair like a ghost of the man he used to be. What if they just want to take it? He whispered. What if? This is the moment everything gets stolen again. But then he remembered all the nights coding under neon lights, the endless hours on the road, the faces of the writers who trusted him. He opened his laptop and looked at the code, his code glowing steady in the dark. No, he said softly. This time, I own it. The meeting took place in a sleek glass building that smelled of money and air conditioning. Li Wei arrived early, still wearing the delivery uniform beneath his borrowed blazer, the yellow collar peeking just enough to remind him where he came from. He walked into the conference room. 3 people waited inside, and among them his old boss, Director Huang. The man looked up, half smiling in disbelief. Li Wei, you built this? Li Wei nodded once, calm. The projector lit up behind him, maps, graphs, routes dancing across the wall like living circuits. I built it, he said quietly, while delivering for you. A silence fell over the room. Then, slowly, Director Huang leaned back in his chair, exhaled, and said, almost to himself, I underestimated you. Li Wei didn't reply. He just clicked to the final slide, one line of text, designed by the people who actually ride. For the first time in years, he didn't feel small. He didn't feel like someone begging for a job. He felt steady. When the meeting ended, he walked out through the lobby into the wet afternoon. His phone buzzed again, another delivery request. He smiled, declined it, and tucked the phone into his pocket. Outside, his reflection glimmered in the building's mirrored glass, the same man, same scooter waiting at the curb, but something inside had changed completely. Dusk settled over Shenzhen like a memory. The rain had stopped, but the streets still shimmered slick with the glow of traffic lights and the smell of wet concrete. The city was alive, humming, breathing. Li Wei stood beside his scooter, helmet under his arm, staring up at the skyline that once made him feel small. For a long time, he just listened to the buzz of engines, the distant chatter of riders, the rhythm of life moving forward. Then he smiled, put on his helmet, and started the engine. The familiar hum filled his chest. He took the long way home through the same streets he used to ride for deliveries, the same intersections where he once waited in the rain. Now, every turn felt different. At a red light, a younger rider pulled up next to him, same yellow jacket, same delivery box. The kid glanced over. "Hey brother, you using that new routing app? It's magic. Makes the job feel human again." Li Wei paused, then nodded. "Yeah," he said quietly. "I've heard good things." The light turned green, and they rode off in opposite directions, one starting his night shift, the other heading home. Wind brushed against Li Wei's face, carrying the scent of rain and fried noodles. The neon signs blurred into ribbons of color in his visor, red, blue, gold, like a city breathing in slow motion. When he finally reached his apartment, he parked the scooter, took off the helmet, and looked at the small, glowing logo printed across the back of his jacket. Loop, his own creation, his own name. Inside, his apartment hadn't changed. The same desk, the same cheap lamp, the same humming refrigerator. But now, the silence felt different. It wasn't heavy anymore. It was full, like the quiet after a long song finally ends the way it should. Li Wei sat by the window, watching the last streaks of light fade between the buildings. Somewhere out there, hundreds of riders were using his system, people like him, moving faster, earning more, getting home earlier. He thought about that first night, the rain, the fear, the shame, and how far it had carried him. All that noise, all that loneliness had turned into something real. He whispered softly, almost smiling. They laughed, and maybe that's what I needed. Outside, the city pulsed not as a machine, but as something alive. And for the first time in years, Li Wei didn't feel like he was chasing time. He was riding with it.